cervical spine strength test. After that, range of motion is important and strength is important for cervical spine. And for the intervention, I'll do with the modality, I'll do strengthening, I'll do proprioception retraining, and I'll do cervical ocular exercises. Okay, so this is the conclusion for the dizziness. Most of the cervical trauma or whiplash, they contribute to the dizziness. Severe spondylosis, osteophytes can lead to the cervicogenic dizziness. It may be associated with the neck pain, cervicogenic headache, or any other thing. Might be oscillopsia, disequilibrium. The main symptoms is when they quickly turn their head, they feel off balance, they feel little dizzy, and it may last for a few minutes, and it's episodic. So this is an overview of a cervicogenic dizziness. Now for cervicogenic dizziness, J. Herman's textbook is a reliable good source. Jeff Walter, Susan Whitney and Cass, they have a pretty good information in their books. Physio tutors, they have videos on YouTube, and they are pretty reliable sources. With all, they have all the comparison, and it's evidence based. And there is a group on Facebook, e-library. So if you need any vestibular related or any vestibular rehab related textbook you need, you can get from e-library. So I think we are. I'm concluding. So let's see your.
हाँ पण ત્યાંથી પેલી સાઈઝ માં કરીને કમ્પ્લીટ કરીને લેતા આવો.
Let's see if you.
સારું તો કર નાખ નીકળો. હું વાત કરું છું આ પતાય પછી હું બધું સાઈડ નો કોલ આવે છે ને.
Okay, on what basis holds in exercises are decided? So actually I'm not getting a question like what basis we can hold in exercise. So in that test they have mentioned when they do chin tuck, they ask them to hold for 10 seconds. If they are able to do that for 10 seconds, for example at 24 mm Hg, they are able to do 10 seconds, 3 repetitions. Then they have that the cervical muscle has a strength of 24 mm Hg. We can proceed further to the 26. Now at the level of 26, if they are able to hold for 10 seconds, 3 repetitions, then you can move for the 28. After that they reach to the 30, you can do without that off the plane for 30 seconds. So that's how you can decide the holds in the exercise. Hope I am clear according to your question. When I do isometric, the cervical isometric, usually I ask them to hold for 6 to 8 seconds. Like I do isometric for 6 to 8 seconds, 2 to 3 repetitions, and then you can move forward. You can increase your resistance. Now, when you do tuck chin, it's usually 3 seconds. When you progress like this for 3 seconds, against the wall 3 seconds, against the wall 3 seconds, that's how you can progress your deep flexor strengthening. Any questions? Okay, so there is no particular mobilization technique for cervicogenic dizziness. It's our mobilization for cervical spine. So if it is upper cervical, mostly we do the mobilization of the upper cervical. I usually do with the passive movement. Ask the patient to lay down on a plane, take a head in my hand, and I'll do start with little rotations, flexion extensions, and you can do mobilization for the upper cervical. So there is no particular mobilization for the cervicogenic dizziness. You have to do little mobilization for the hypomobility or space reduction in the upper cervical. So you can go with that mobilization. Maybe transverse ligament, maybe transverse process, right? You can do that mobilization. But I just do pre-manure test if there is no any instability. If there is instability, like sharp or it's positive, we cannot go with the mobilization.
Thank you.
Okay, so which particular thing are different between vertigo and cervicogenic dizziness? Now, vertigo can be because of the central vestibular impairment, peripheral vestibular impairment, or maybe cerebellar impairment. So if these three things happen, the patient might feel the vertigo. In vertigo, they feel the sensation of whether they are moving or the surrounding is moving. Whereas in cervicogenic dizziness, it's because of the cervical origin and they feel more of dizziness rather than the vertigo. Now, there are different tests. If it is central vestibular originate, there is a test to differentiate. It is a central originate vertigo. For that, you can do SICADs, you can do smooth pursuit. There might be nystagmus involved with the vertigo. So with the nystagmus also, you are able to identify the central vestibular vertigo. For peripheral vertigo, there can be the cause, maybe it's because of BPPV. So patient will give you the symptoms like, you know, when they are getting up from the bed, they might feel the vertigo. While they are taking something from upper shelf, they feel the vertigo. It stays for few seconds. So for BPPV, you need to do particular tests like this Hallpike and roll test, and then you are able to find out that's a peripheral vestibular vertigo. And cerebellar vertigo, we know that any cerebellar symptoms we can check, like we can do Romberg, we can do dysdiadochinemia, we can do finger to nose, and then we can rule out it's a cerebellar vertigo. So for that, vertigo can because of three things, maybe central, peripheral vestibular, or maybe cerebellar originate. And cervicogenic dizziness is a dizziness. So you have to rule out all this test for that. But yeah, the mostly it's episodic and it lasts. It's episodic in BPPV also. But if it is not peripheral, then your dynamic visual acuity test will be negative. If the test is negative, you can say it's not a vestibular related. So that's how you can differentiate. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so can stress cause cervicogenic dizziness? Is that some relation between the stress mechanism and cervicogenic dizziness? That's a question. I would say it's more of physical stress can cause the cervicogenic dizziness. It's not emotional stress or other stress can contribute. Now, if your muscles are weak, if your muscles are tired, if they are weak, they get tired, they get fatigued pretty easily, right? If there is a ligament laxity, it can cause the tiredness and it can cause the imbalance and not able to hold your spine properly and cause the dizziness. Now, what happens if you are sitting for, if your muscles are weak, your extensors are weak, your flexors are weak, they are not able to hold your neck properly, right? But in the morning, they are okay. You are watching continuously TV, you are doing work on the computer with the forward head continuously, you are driving two-wheeler continuously. If they get tired, if they get fatigued, they'll give you the symptoms of dizziness. And we have seen many of patients, they wear a collar and they feel comfortable while they are driving or while they are doing, and they feel now it's not bothering me. It's because the ligament are lax, they have pretty long neck, or their muscles are not strong enough to hold the structure up like this. They may feel the dizziness because of the stress. It may increase the symptoms of cervical dizziness. So only thing is you need to do the strengthening, and you have to do the postural correction. As much as you do postural correction, the system gets corrected and it relieves the stress on the system and decrease the symptoms of cervicogenic dizziness. Okay, so what are the precautions we have to take if it is hypermobility or if it is red flag? So any cervical injury or any whiplash associated injury, or maybe they have gone to the chiropractor and because of any thrust or rotation extension thrust, they have damaged the transverse ligament or alar ligament, and their upper cervical spine is not stable, and they come to you. Now, when you do test and you find it's a hypermobility, there are stages like all the tendon has 1 degree tear, 2 degree tear, 3rd degree tear, any damage to the alar ligament or any damage to the transverse ligament. Clinically, we might not be able to judge which level injury they have and if they need surgical correction or not. If it is not, if we don't know that and if we treat them, there might be chances of cord compression. There may chances of the quadriplegia or anything, right? Because it's a chances to compress the cord. So you have to be careful that they visit to the orthopedic. If they give the green signal, it's nothing is damaged, is just a ligament laxity, and you can start with the stabilization and strengthening. You can initially advise for the protection like precautions like limited restricted motion while they are traveling or while they are for prolonged traveling or anything. You can ask them to wear a collar for certain time till you are able to strengthen their muscles. Now, if you feel it's a hypermobility and you are not clinically able to judge, they have to go to the orthopedic or maybe neurophysician. They have to do MRI and see how much ligament is damaged. If it is more, they have to go with the surgical removal or they have to do some external fixation for time being. So that's their protocol. I guess some orthopedic use some injections too if it is very primary, and if it is no treatable rehab is not possible, then they do the surgical. So but for that we have to consult the orthopedic. If they give green signal, there is no risk for rehab, you can go ahead and start rehab. Then you can start with the co-contraction and neck stabilization, and then you can move forward. So, and other red flag symptoms like they might have dizziness, cerebellar originate, if any like vascular dementia or any multiple sclerosis which involves the cerebellum, and they might not have any other symptoms but they might have just dizziness. So then we have to rule out, and if it is cerebellar originate or maybe stroke or maybe posterior artery involvement or stroke or TIA that can give dizziness, then it is an alarm, because with treatment they are not gonna get better, but if the symptoms increase they might have hemiparesis or they might have any other if PCA involvement. So they have to visit the physician, they have to do the CAT scan and other medications. So that's the red flags you have to check for that, because all the systems give the same symptoms of dizziness. So we have to rule them out whether it is cervicogenic or it is a high risk. If it is high risk, send them to the doctor. If doctor says they are okay to go with the rehab, then you can start your rehab. And precautions we can see when we are doing manure and when we are doing strengthening, you have to use your clinical judgment. Like the pain is increasing. Sometimes pain increase when you do strengthening or when you do your treatment, but it should not be last more than 1 hour. They says if it is lasting for more than 1 hour, like they go home and it's paining whole day, next day they said now I don't want to come again, so that's somewhere you are going wrong. So it should, pain can increase but it should be momentarily, not more than 1 hour. So that precautions you have to take care. Anything else? You questions? Okay, there is no latency in smooth pursuit test because our eye coordinate in 20 milliseconds fraction. So when your head turns, eye movement should be in very fraction that we are not able to visibly see. So if patient are having, there is no latency like within a 30 seconds it will come or within a 1 minute come, it will come right away. The symptoms will come right away. But for example, if any accommodation is there or if any habituation is there, I would say I'll go with the 3 repetitions. First, I'll do smooth pursuit. I'll do the complete horizontal, complete vertical. Sometimes you can use H or B like that. That I'll do one time, take a break, right side is done, left side, do one more time. Okay? But no latency, you are able to see the right away. Sometimes you might not get symptoms of dizziness. They might not say they are dizzy, but when you do this test, they might feel saccadic eye movement. So now if I'm doing sitting like this and I'm doing my smooth pursuit, I am able to do properly without any difficulties. But with my neck torsion, if I do like this, I'm not able to follow or I get the cyclic movement. The test is positive. I might not feel dizzy, but I am not able to do this test properly. So that's the test positive. And there is no latency. Symptoms will come right away. They are not able to do. And you can do 2 to 3 repetitions. I would say rather than getting tired, I'll do on the right side and I'll do on the left side when I'll check the patient. Any other questions? All right.
Any other questions? All the viewers, all the students, all across the Gujarat colleges, different part. Any internees, clinicians, PG students, faculty members. If you have any queries regarding cervicogenic disease, you can ask ma'am. Any queries? Any more? I think, ma'am, you have explained very nicely. Specifically, the point that you have covered, which is really important for all the viewers and the listeners, is how to isolatedly, differentially diagnose the cervicogenic disease. Ma'am explained centrally, peripherally, and vestibularly. Okay, so it is very important to understand that isolatedly cervicogenic dizziness, when you're identifying because of the cervical spine pathology or the ma'am has explained the vertebral artery compression and the whole anatomy, that he took the whole session in another level. So that was the really ice on a cake. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much that you have explained, and you have differentiate the symptoms, how to isolatedly identify that cervicogenic problems and specialties that you have explained. The videos were quite nicely and very informatively. And I hope and I believe genuinely that all the viewers, all the students and faculty must have enjoyed the session. And yes, I think I would like to thank you for one of the students is appreciating ma'am. Uh, yes, it was a very informative sessions, I believe. And thank you very much, ma'am. Again, once again, without your knowledge, without your time, the way you have given the time, that shows the even the lockdown. The we have given the theme. even though the lockdown is happening, the people are at home. Okay, we are reaching the people all around the globe. If willing are there, we can do whatever we want to do. So even though the lockdown is there, those who are really seeking for knowledge, they are up for it. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for
Thank you
your
for this opportunity. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच। और हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की ओर से मैं फिर से बहन का धन्यवाद और आभार प्रकट करता हूँ, और सभी अटेंडीज को भी धन्यवाद देता हूँ जिन्होंने ये शेयरिंग ऑफ द नॉलेज जो जर्नी है उसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया है। ओके, तो नाउ आपके पास जो सर्वे और जो भी लिंक है उसमें ईमेल आएगा, आपकी फीडबैक उसमें आप भेजिए। हमारी कोई भूल चूक हो सकती है तो उसमें आप हमें सजेशन दे सकते हैं, हम उसको पॉजिटिवली लेके आगे के सेट वेबिनार में हम उनको इम्प्रूव करेंगे। ओके सर,
and
आपका कुछ?
and all the viewers, if you have any suggestions or if you want to give any feedback, if you want to reach out to us, you have my contact number. Every contact number is there in flyers. Okay, my contact number and my CEO VN Patel Medical Campus, Mr. Prakash Patel, his number is also there in the flyer. So if you want to reach us out, or if you want to give us the feedback, or if you want us to improve anything out of this, please let us know. Okay, please let us know so that we can improve next time and fulfill the expectations. Once again, thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Shall we discuss? Riksha, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much
So,
for this opportunity.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, all the viewers. Thank you.